खंडन भव बंधन जग बंधन बंदे तमाय निरंजन रूप धार निरंजन नार रूप धार निर्गुण गुणमय मोचन पाग दूषण जग भूषण चित धन काय ज्ञानांजन विमल नायन ज्ञानांजन शर भाव सागर चिर उन्माद प्रेम गाथा भक्तार जन युगल चारण भक्तार जन युगल चारण तारण भव पार ज्रीं वेत युग ईशार जगदीशार योग सहाय निरोधन समाहित मन निरोधन समाहित मन निराखी तव कृपा भंजन दुख गंजन करुणाघन कर्म कठोर प्राणार्पण जगत तारण प्राणार्पण जगत तारण गृहीतन कले डोर वाञ्छन काम काञ्चन अति निन्दित इन्द्रिय राग त्यागीशर हे नार वर त्यागीशर हे नार वर देह पदे निर्भय गात संशय दृढ निश्चय मानस वान निष्काम रन भगत शरण निष्काम रन भगत शरण त्यजी जाति कुल मान संपद वारे याथाय प्रेमार्पण शमदर्शन प्रेमार्पण शमदर्शन जग जन दुख जाय संपद तव श्रीपद भव गोष्पद वारियथाय प्रेमार्पण शमदर्शन प्रेमार्पण शमदर्शन जग जन दुख जाय नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनातीत नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनातीत मन वचनैका धार प्रभु मन वचनैका धार ज्योतिर ज्योति उजल हृदय कंदर ज्योतिर ज्योति उजल हृदय कंदर तुमि तम भंजन हार प्रभु तुमि तम भंजन हार नमो नमो प्रभु भाग्यमनातीत नमो नमो प्रभु भाग्यमनातीत मन वचनैका धार प्रभु मन वचनैका धार ज्योतिर ज्योति उजल हृदय कंदर ज्योतिर ज्योति उजल हृदय कंदर तुमि तम भंजन हार प्रभु तुमि तम भंजन हार धे 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 लंग रंग भंग बाजे अंग संग मृदंग धे 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 लंग रंग भंग बाजे अंग संग मृदंग गाइछे छंद भगत वृंद आरती तोमार गाइछे छंद भगत वृंद आरती तोमार जय जय आरती तोमार हर हर आरती तोमार शिव शिव आरती तोमार खंडन भाव बंधन जग बंधन बंदित माय जय श्री गुरु महाराज जी की जय। ओम ह्रीं ऋतं त्वमचलो गुणजित् गुणेभ्यः नाक्तं दिवं सकरुणं तव पादपद्मं मोहङ्कषं बहुकृतं न भजे यतोऽहं तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीन बन्धो भक्तिर्भगश्च भजनं भवभेदकारी गच्छन्तलं सुविपुलं गमनाय तत्त्वं वक्तृधृतोऽपि हृदये न मे भाति किञ्चित् तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीनबन्धो तेजस्तरन्ति तरसा त्वयि तृप्त तृष्णां रागे कृते ऋतपथे त्वयि राम कृष्णे मर्त्यामृतं तव पदं मरणोर्मि नाशं तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीनबन्धो कृतं करोति कलुषं कुहकान्तकारी श्रान्तं शिवं सुविमलं तव नाम नाथ यस्मादहं त्वशरणो जगदेकगम्या तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीनबन्धो ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतार वरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः ॐ नमो श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः ॐ नमो श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः ॐ नमो श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः ॐ सर्वमङ्गल माङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थ साधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते सृष्टि स्थिति विनाशनं शक्ति भूते सनातनी गुणाश्रये गुणमय नारायणी नमोस्तुते शरणागत गात दीनार्त परित्राण परायणे सर्वस्यारति हरे देवी नारायणी नमोस्तुते जय नारायणी नमोस्तुते जय नारायणी नमोस्तुते जय नारायणी नमोस्तुते जय नारायणी नमोस्तुते। जय महामाई की जय, जय भगवान श्री रामकृष्ण देव की जय, जय स्वामी जी महाराज जी की जय। प्रकृतिं परमां अभयां वरदां नररूपधरां जनतापहरां शरणागतसेवक दोषकरीं प्रणमामि परां जननीं जगतां गुणहीनसुतान् अपराधयुतान् कृपयाद्य समोद्धर मोहगतान् तरणीं भवसागर पारकरीं प्रणमामि परान् जननीं जगतां विषयं कुसुमं परिहृत्य सदा चरणाम्बुरुहामृत शान्तिशुधां पिबभृङ्गमनो भवरोगहरां प्रणमामि परां जननीं जगतां। कृपां कुरु महादेवी श्रुतेषु प्रणतेषु च चरणाश्रयदानेन कृपामयि नमोऽस्तुते। लज्जापटावृते नित्यं शारदे ज्ञानदायिके पापेभ्यो न सदा रक्ष कृपामयि नमोऽस्तुते। रामकृष्णगतप्राणां तन्नाम श्रवणप्रियां तद्भावरञ्जिताकारां प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। पवित्रं चरितं यस्य पवित्रं जीवनं तथा पवित्रता स्वरूपिण्यै तस्यै दिव्यै नमो नमः। देवीं प्रसन्नां प्रणतां त्रिहन्त्रीं योगिं पूज्यां युगधर्मपात्रीं तां शारदां भक्ति विज्ञानदात्रीं दयास्वरूपां प्रणमामि नित्यं स्नेहेन बध्नासि मनोस्मदीयं दोषान् शेषान् करोषि अहेतुनानो दयाशेषदोषान् साङ्ख्ये गृहीत्वा यदिदं विचित्रं प्रसीद मातर् विनयेन याचे नित्यं भव स्नेहवती श्रुतेषु प्रेमैकबिन्दुं चिरदग्धचित्ते विसिञ्च चित्तं कुरु न सुशान्तम् जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः।
नमः श्री अतिराजाय विवेकानंद सूरे सच्चित् सुख स्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे. So we come to the conclusion of this lecture by Vivekananda on unity and diversity. It's kind of fortuitous. We will not have this particular class for the next 3 months. I will be away. We will start again in the first week of June. But we will finish this lecture today. And it is the point at which he gives first, I mean, this is essentially what he's arguing about in the first place, is that there is a certain overwhelming emphasis, and here he was arguing in the West, on the manifestation of life, objective reality, where the full attention is devoted to that, and he is arguing against that. First, offering as the antithesis the proposal that it is at least as valuable and worthwhile to investigate into subjective reality. And finally, he comes to a synthesis where he says that a balanced view is one where both the truth in objective reality and the truth in subjective reality is investigated into. This is the broad scheme of how he finishes this particular lecture. And as usual with many of his other lectures, the last paragraph is essentially sheer poetry, almost music. So here it goes. I am practical, very practical in my own way. So your idea that only the West is practical is nonsense. You are practical in one way and I in another. There are different types of men and minds. If in the East, a man is told that he will find out the truth by standing on one leg all his life, he will pursue that method. If in the West, men hear that there is a gold mine somewhere in an uncivilized country, thousands will face the danger there in the hope of getting the gold, and perhaps only one succeeds. The same men have heard that they have souls, but are content to leave the care of them to the church. The first man will not go near the savages, he says. It may be dangerous. But if we tell him that on the top of a high mountain lives a wonderful sage who can give him knowledge of the soul, he tries to climb up to him, even if he be killed in the attempt. Both types of men are practical, but the mistake lies in regarding this world as the whole of life. Yours is the vanishing point of enjoyment of the senses. There is nothing permanent in it. It only brings more and more misery, while mine brings eternal peace. This is the antithesis. So what he is proposing here is essentially the point of view that the subjective inquiry into the value of one's own life, into the value of life itself, is a more worthwhile avenue of inquiry than the avenue which is pursued largely. It was typically associated to the West, but now I think both systems coexist everywhere in the world, into the objective realities of life. And mistakenly, science is associated with only the latter, into the objective manifestations of life, and spirituality somehow or the other only into the subjective reality of life. This is a mistaken perception, and I think Vivekananda is going to clarify that in the last paragraph. What he is trying to posit here is that it is worth investigating into the substratum of one's being itself. The same instrument, that of inquiry. In the first case, it is directed towards what we call our visible or objective world, and it tries to uncover the truth there. But does it really uncover the truth there? Where does the truth flash? Where is external phenomena synthesized into the principle of knowledge? And what is being said here is that it is in the human heart that the truth flashes. And it is that truth which brings us in harmony with the world outside. It allows us to capture objective phenomena into this simple subjective principle of human knowledge. And here he pitches these two temperaments, one which excludes the external world and devotes itself entirely to the subjective inquiry, the so-called Oriental temperament, and the other which ignores that and somehow or the other outsources it to the church and devotes itself to finding the truth in external reality. These are the two attitudes that are pitched against each other. Here, subsequently, in the last paragraph, he gets to the synthesis. Taking first, he opposes the view that subjective inquiry is worthless by saying that the subjective inquiry is more valuable than the objective inquiry. This was the antithesis. And now he comes to the synthesis where he says that no, what is really a significant thing would be to do these two simultaneously. I do not say your view is wrong. You are welcome to it. Great good and blessing come out of it. But do not therefore condemn my view. Mine also is practical in its own way. Let us all work on our own plans. Would to God all of us were equally practical on both sides. I have seen some scientists who were equally practical both as scientists and as spiritual men. And it is my great hope that in course of time the whole of humanity will be efficient in the same manner. When a kettle of water is coming to the boil, if you watch the phenomenon, you find first one bubble rising and then another, and so on, until at last they all join and a tremendous commotion takes place. This world is very similar. Each individual is like a bubble, and the nations resemble many bubbles. Gradually, these nations are joining, and I'm sure the day will come when separation will vanish, and that oneness to which we are all going will become manifest. A time must come when every man will be as intensely practical in the scientific world as in the spiritual. And then that oneness, the harmony of oneness, will pervade the whole world. The whole of mankind will become Jivan Muktas, free whilst living. We are all struggling towards that one end through our jealousies and hatreds, through our love and cooperation. A tremendous stream is flowing towards the ocean, carrying us all along with it, and though like straws and scraps of paper, we may at times float aimlessly about, in the long run, we are sure to join the ocean of life and bliss. And here the lecture ends. This last paragraph it's a poetic vision. See, in the Upanishads, the seer of truth is called a kavi, a poet, the great poet. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Manur. So, this is in the Shetashvatara. So, here what he is talking about is that this method of finding the truth in phenomena and finding the truth in one's subjective life, which we have artificially bifurcated and described the one as science and the other as spirituality, has as its basis one common quest, namely for truth. Sometimes we say it's the quest for truth in subjective nature. What is the substratum of my own existence? That's the object of inquiry. And sometimes it is truth in nature, as we call it, the external nature. But it is the quest for truth in both. And it is in this quest for truth, above everything else, not qualified by this subjective or objective, that a synthesis is to be found. Which means that it is truth that we are after. It is not possible to define truth as a concept, but we all know what it is. It is what defines us. It is what defines our existence. Without an instinctive hold on truth, it is not possible to justify or to give value to this quest for truth in nature, be it external, be it internal. I'm reminded of this, even from a very devotional point of view. Sri Ramakrishna, greatest of all mystics, in this spirit of ecstatic devotion, he prays to Mother that here is your dharma, here is your adharma. Here is your good, here is your bad. You may take all of it. Give me pure devotion to your feet. Subsequently, he says, but I could not say to Mother, here is your truth and here is your falsehood. And Swami Saradananda explains that in Lila Prasanga, in the Great Master, saying that if that was said, then where does this truth rest that I have surrendered all these dualities to the object of devotion? This surrender is based on this cardinal value of truth, which has a stand above everything else. And it is in this quest for truth that one finds the real synthesis. When one's attention is directed inwards, one is trying to find truth behind this phenomenon called individual existence. Ultimately, these two philosophies, Madhyamaka Buddhism and Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, come to the conclusion that this empirical I, which our world revolves around typically, is a fiction. When we start inquiring into it, it starts losing its value. It seems to be something that is constantly transitioning. Therefore, that which makes this I aware is the more fundamental truth, and the quest for that is the gist of all of Vedanta. Similarly, this that we call the world around us gives us manifold information. How to find a unifying feature behind all this is the quest in science. Is the quest in science as we know it. What does it give? Finally, unifying principles. The one gives the unifying principle behind subjective experience. The multifarious subjective experience is unified in what we call the principle of consciousness. The quest for it is what Vedanta is about. And similarly, when we direct our attention to the outside world, we try to find unifying principles behind different phenomena. And this quest, this external quest, is what is called the quest in science. In the real synthesis then lies in identifying what exactly is truth. And Vedanta, in its final reach, it is not saying that the world is not. What it is really saying, the world as you see it is not what it is really. The quest for truth in the external world and the quest for truth behind these subjective phenomena unify and become one truth, undivided. Yeah? Whether it be externally, whether or it be internally, it is finally just one quest. This unification. Traditionally in Vedanta they call it, see, it's some of this Mahavakya is there in the Chandogya Upanishad. It says Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. Yeah? What is that? That means this world. Thou means this I. And finally it says these are the same. That's the art. What does that mean? It means basically that the world as you see it, what is the truth behind it? It is this perception, this reality that is granted to it. But the reality that is granted to it is by this exercise in consciousness, in subjective, what we call typically subjective consciousness. Remove from that the particulars. That means the world resolves itself into the conscious principle itself. Similarly, behind this phenomenon called mind and intellect and the senses, once we start trying to find out what is it that unifies, holds my individual existence together, there also this enquiry culminates in this universal principle of consciousness itself. So remove from the world these limitations that we say that this is one thing, this is another, etc., and try to see that it is this reflection, this principle of knowledge in and through all of that. One, this is called Tat-Pat Shodhana. This is a practice in Vedanta. It's purifying the Tat-Pada, the object signified, that which is signified, this word, that or Tat. Similarly, there is this Tvam-Pat Shodhana. That means that which I refer to as the I, can I keep on purifying it? Yeah? And then finally, what happens at the culmination of both the that and the this being purified, one notices that there is no difference. And the two merge in one. The subject-object division connected by cognition, yes, this trichotomy, what the Vedanta calls Triputi, yeah, this is dissolved slowly. It is this seems to be abstract, but really it is the most practical thing, and the best way to do this is via service. Why? Because in and through service, we are forced to recognize in the individual in front of us that same elevated principle of consciousness. This is in devotional language, is what is said, Shiva Jnana Jiva Seva. This is what it is. Essentially, the person in front of me is a symbol on top of the same universal principle of consciousness, not something different. And it is what we call I is also a symbol for that. These symbols differ. They are words. It is like I use one language to refer to me. It's called I. I use another language to refer to you, called you. But you remove that language and then you find that which is referred to in you is the conscious principle. When I talk to another person, I think that, oh, this is a conscious person I'm talking to. He or she understands my intent. This comprehension, this intent is assumed. Therefore, what we are really doing is we are assuming that there is this fundamental unity between the person in front of me and me. Wherein lies that unity? It's not in the body. It's not in the other person's mind or in my mind. It is in this conscious principle which identifies you and me. And therefore, any service is based on this feeling of unity. This feeling is not some emotion, but it is a cognition of a certain kind of truth. And once that cognition of truth comes, then one's life becomes blessed. Why? Because that which I was referring to as the I so far, this body, this mind, and this complex, this is eternally changing. This is going to cease to exist at some point of time. It is going to burn to ashes on the cremation ground or on the pyre. But the same conscious principle which was manifesting itself through this body and mind is not created and therefore does not cease to exist. It is the essence of existence itself. The problem is we do not identify with that principle, but we rather identify with the individual manifestations. It is this identification with individual manifestations which keeps changing that gives rise to this sense that I am a transient being. And if I am a transient being, I was born and I will die someday. On the other hand, this conscious principle which gives reality to this birth, which gives reality to this existence today, which gives reality to death itself, that principle is unchanging. It is what grants reality. And if one can identify with that, then one has removed oneself from the hold of mortality itself. One has detached oneself from the conditions of one's being into unconditioned being. In devotional language, it is that unconditioned being that is called God. In the Vedanta, that is exactly what is called Brahman or consciousness or Atman. Yeah? So it's there. Therefore, there are these Mahavakyas: Pragyanam Brahma, Ayam Atma Brahma, Tattvam Asi. So basically, it's all of these are identifying that which is all pervasive with the essence of my own existence, with the essence of consciousness itself, with the essence of the principle of knowledge itself. And the devotees call that same unconditioned existence God. The Buddhists refer to the same thing as Shunya, refers to it as nothingness. But what is really going on is that at that stage, everythingness and nothingness, there is no difference. One refers to the nothingness or transitoriness of all phenomenal existence and no substance in that which changes. What is substantial is not caught hold of because it cannot be conceptualized. The Vedantin, on the other hand, catches hold of that which pervades each and every one of these transient things and therefore calls it everythingness. Choice of words. The words are almost antipodal, but they mean they signify the same thing. Just as the devotee, when it refers to God, it refers to another faculty in us, namely that of love or devotion. And the culmination of that faculty is referred to as the personal God. Again, whether it be a Buddhist, whether it be a Vedantin, whether it be a devotional exercise, a practitioner, they are referring to the same thing. And the problem arises when one takes the conceptual framework for reality. The conceptual framework is not reality. It is a symbol of reality. That which it is pointing its finger to is reality. So that's why in the Chandogya again it said, Vacha Rambhanam Vikara Namadheyam Mrittika Ityeva Satyam. Vacha Rambhanam, all these words, symbols, Vikara Namadheyam, they are the names of changes. Mrittika Ityeva Satyam, that earth from which all these little things have been made, that substratum alone is what is real. So if we try to inquire into the reality of the world scientifically, we will finally come to reality itself. The same thing if we start inquiring into the reality about ourselves, we culminate in that same reality, the self same reality, this trichotomy that we have of I am one thing, the world is another, and then there is a relationship of cognition or behavior that goes in between them. This trichotomy, the subject, the object, and the relationship between them, is resolved into one unifying principle that manifests as the subject, that manifests as the object, that manifests as the relationship between them. This resolution is what Vedantins refer to as Triputi Laya. It is an experience to be aspired for, and all our practices are supposed to aim towards that. Let me again come and read this beautiful paragraph with which Vivekananda ends this particular lecture, as it is lyrical to the extreme. I do not say your view is wrong, you are welcome to it. Great good and blessing come out of it, but do not therefore condemn my view. Mine also is practical in its own way. The subjective enquiry and the objective enquiry are equally practical. This is what he is positing here. But what is better? This he comes to subsequently. Let us all work out on our own plans. There will be those who inquire into the truth in nature. There will be those who inquire into the truth in the subject. Would to God all of us were equally practical on both sides, both in the subjective method of inquiry and in the objective. And then he gives instances. I have seen some scientists typically associated with objective inquiry, who were equally practical, both as scientists and as spiritual men. Equally proficient in the subjective method of inquiry and in the objective method of inquiry. And it is my great hope that in course of time, the whole of humanity will be efficient in the same manner. There are external problems which are there upon all of humanity. Global warming is a fact. It is going to affect all of us. Are we doing something about it? If we are, then what happens is that we are really trying to understand that these problems are universal, and in and through that act, we are identifying ourselves with a larger reality that we call humanity. When a kettle of water is coming to the boil, if you watch the phenomenon, you find first one bubble rising, and then another, and so on, until at last they all join and a tremendous commotion takes place. This world is very similar. Each individual is like a bubble, and the nations resemble many bubbles. Gradually, these nations are joining. Hard to recognize this in a divided world. But at some point of time, humanity did wake up to the fact that this meaningless war between nations harms both that are at war. And what comes together is the synthesis of nations. That's what he's talking about here. Until at last they all join. Yeah? Gradually these nations are joining, and I'm sure the day will come when separation will vanish, and that oneness to which we are all going will become manifest. It is here that these divides between nations vanishes, and the common aim of different nations is unified into the principle towards which all humanity aspires. A time must come when every man will be as intensely practical in the scientific world as in the spiritual. It's only then, once there is the same level of practical intensity in the objective enquiry and in the subjective enquiry, and then that oneness, the harmony of oneness, will pervade the whole world. The whole of mankind will become Jivan Muktas. This is what Jivan Mukti is. It's not some esoteric thing. It is understanding that the principle that is there behind my individuated existence and the principle that is there behind the existence of what we call the world is not different, and it is therefore the subject and the object are unified in this one principle of truth itself, free whilst living. We are all struggling towards that one end through our jealousies and hatreds, through our love and cooperation. Except that the jealousy and hatreds, they accentuate our differences, and love and cooperation unifies. Is this principle of unification that is being stressed, not the principle of differentiation. A tremendous stream is flowing towards the ocean, carrying us all along with it, and though like straws and scraps of paper, we may at times float aimlessly about, in the long run, we are sure to join the ocean of life and bliss. In other words, we may make mistakes like little scraps of paper and straws in this whole stream. We may float hither and thither. But truth has its own way of dominating and sweeping all these differences aside. And in the end, that alone triumphs. Satyameva jayate na anritam. Which means that the essence of my existence, the essence of your existence, the essence of the world's existence, which is the truth itself, is the dominant reality and absorbs our petty divided existence into it. We may at times float aimlessly about. In the long run, eventually, we are sure to join the ocean of life and bliss. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.